You're listening to the Diagnosed podcast, where every diagnosis has a story, and every story deserves to be heard. From survivors to loved ones, we explore the journey together with your host, Albano.
If you get value out of this video, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Let's get on to the video. So when we first launched on Instagram, one of the first people that reached out to me was Brian. Brian connected and said that he was a two-time survivor of cancer, and he wanted to share his story. He's actively involved in giving back to the community. And we connected, had a quick chat, and here we are. So, Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me on today. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into anything else, what I wanted to ask you is this. You're in the Washington area.
Yes, I'm in Spokane, Washington.
Okay, perfect. So here's what I wanted to ask before we get into any of your personal journey. What's the atmosphere there like right now, since the Mariners are, getting a deep run into the playoffs?
Honestly, it's pretty good. I'm actually a Brewers fan myself, so I have, kind of a love-hate right now going on with the teams that are going on, but everyone's very excited over here at the Mariners. Are doing good.
Yeah, so I think Seattle, I'm a baseball fan, so Seattle has never made it to the World Series, I don't think.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, things must be really, like, everybody there must be super stoked.
They are. Yes, they're literally like the company I work for has sent out emails for like watch the Mariners today. Like it's a pretty interesting atmosphere right now, and I'm actually kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, that's cool. I would imagine that every day, that's all you hear on the radio or coworkers, friends. What's the atmosphere there like right now? Like in terms of people on the street, are you guys, are your bars filled?
I don't know. I don't know. Spokane kind of likes to separate itself from Seattle because I'm closer to Idaho. So
Okay.
they try to not associate themselves with Seattle, but there's a lot of like banners out now. There's a lot of people like wearing a lot more Mariners clothing than you normally would see this time of the year. So they're getting some support and love over here.
Yeah, that's good. That's interesting. Are you a baseball? Did you play baseball as a kid or anything like that?
Very little. My dad tried because my dad's a big baseball fan. He actually was a sports journalist
Oh,
for
really?
most of my age growing up. So he tried to get me in, and I kept resisting, kept fighting, like because I don't want to do that. I don't want to play baseball or football or basketball. But I still did it. Ended up playing a little bit of that. Did more basketball than anything. But I'm a huge football fan myself, though. So that's kind of where my interests really lie.
Cool. So you said that you're more of a Brewers fan.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now I think you grew up in the Milwaukee area. I think you told me that, right?
Appleton. So was raised in Wisconsin, about 45 minutes from Green Bay. So just kind of like right in the middle of like Green Bay and Milwaukee, and then there's Madison down here. But that's who my dad wrote for. He wrote for the Packers for 10 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, that's a lot of where my interests kind of like childhood was revolved around that.
So your dad must have he must have had some wild stories, because I'm sure he knew a lot of these professional ball players,
He
whether it's
did.
basketball, football, whatever it was. I'm sure he knew a lot of these, and that's pretty unique because we get to see them on TV, or you go
Mhm.
watch a game live, but you don't really get to interact with a lot of these people like your dad probably did.
Yeah, no, he did a lot. He definitely like his most of his career was again covering the Packers. So from about 1991 to about 2000, roughly. So the Brett Favre, Reggie White era. Um, and he didn't tell me a lot of stories because again, when I was a kid, I'm like, I don't care about that. I'm a Broncos fan. Like I don't want to like what you like, and now I regret not asking more stories. But he definitely went everywhere. So he told me about all the different kind of places he went to. When he went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, um, we actually saw Reggie White. We were boarding a plane to go somewhere. I can't remember exactly where we were going, but we were going through TSA, and poked my dad. I was like, "Hey, is that Reggie White over there?" And he's like, "No, no, no." And I'm like, "Look." So he looked over. He sees, Reggie White being the giant that he is, and he's like, "I'll be right back." So he goes off and like chases after him because at that time he was starting to write a book. He's written quite a bit of Packer books. So he also wrote a Brewer book too. He went over and tried to talk to him, try to see if he wanted to be like interview for his book. And he was like, "Yeah." He just goes up to Reggie White just in the airport and just asks if you want to be in his book.
Yeah,
Like
that's amazing
that
that
was the kind of
somebody's able
rapport
to
he
just
had.
do that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing somebody's able
yeah,
to
it
just
was
walk
weird.
over like that.
Yeah,
Um,
no, he was very confident.
so what did you do as a kid? You weren't a big sports guy. What did you do
Yeah,
growing up the Milwaukee area, Green Bay, the whole Wisconsin area there? What
yeah.
did you do? What were your interests as a kid? Besides,
As a
besides,
kid,
yeah, besides having your dad be this like superhero to you.
right, right, and I just completely ignored him. I was like, "No,
Yeah.
no, you're not that big. You're just my dad."
I'm sure your friends didn't. I bet you your friends probably asked you, "Hey, let's ask your dad about this or what's happening here."
Absolutely. Absolutely. All through elementary school, they were just like, "Hey, can we get Brett Favre's autograph? Hey, can we do this?" And I'm like, "No, no, like I don't even have it. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to get it for you." But no, as a kid, what did I do? A lot of played outside a lot. I was, because when you grow up in Wisconsin, that's just beautiful. Most summers, and then you have tornadoes and all the good stuff there. Um, but trying to remember. I stayed at home a lot. Like I just would like watching movies. Like that was like my number one interest as a kid was just watching movies. Turned me into kind of the film buff I am today. And then I discovered skateboarding in about fifth grade, and I thought I was going to be the next Tony Hawk. Um, I mean,
Were you good
everyone
at
did,
it?
I think, at that time. No, no, it was
No.
terrible. But that didn't
But you
stop
had a
me.
dream.
I did. Like I was determined. I mean, at that time I was, a pretty hefty kid. So I'm like, I can do this. This is no problem. And I mean, I stuck with it from about sixth grade till about 11th, 12th grade as just more of like a hobby. But man, I kept trying and trying and trying. And then I discovered video games. My parents got me a PlayStation 1 for my birthday one year. And I remember I was so annoyed at them. I was like, I really wanted an N64. Why did you get me a PlayStation? I wanted a 64 because all my friends had 64s at the time. Um, and I'm glad they didn't get me one because I'm a PlayStation kid. Like that's still what I have now. I play that consistently. Like that's definitely one thing that's like translated well into my life as a good hobby, sort of stress reliever. Um, and then yeah, I would hang out with friends a lot, and I wasn't a very outdoorsy kid. Like I didn't like hunt or do anything like that.
I was going to
My
say because
parents,
in the Midwest, I mean, you have beautiful nature out there,
yeah,
and a lot of people out there are outdoor people.
hmm
You
yeah,
get
no,
4 day seasons out there, right?
I definitely was not one of those kids. I never camped. I never like did any of that stuff because like my family we're mostly from the East Coast. So my parents grew up in like the DC, Baltimore area, Maryland, like on that side of the East Coast. So very city folk people. Um, and when we went out to the Midwest, it just never translated as being Midwest people. So all my friends would be like they're camping, and I was just like,
Right.
not me.
Did you end up out there because your dad went out there for work? Is that how you ended up? Well, I mean, you were born there, you said, right?
No, no, no. I was born in Illinois.
Oh, you
Um,
were born in Illinois. Okay.
yeah, Decatur, so just outside Chicago. Um, and my dad, I mean, I love the man to death, but he was very restless in his careers. He always wanted to try something new because he was in journalism, so he was always trying to find the next outlet for him. He really loved newspaper journalism, and that was like his niche. So him and my mom moved like all over the country. They lived in Maryland for a time, Illinois, uh, out here in Washington, actually, in Yakima for a little bit of time. And then, yeah, they ended up settling on Illinois. They had me. I was maybe a year old, maybe a little bit younger than that, before we moved up north to Appleton, um, when my dad got a job at the newspaper up there, and moved a lot as a kid. I stayed there for about 12 years or so. And then we moved to Michigan because my dad got a job out there and wasn't a good fit. So went back to Wisconsin, stayed there for a few years. And then he got a job in Reno, Nevada. I went out there for a little bit. That's actually where I graduated high school, was out in Reno. Um, and
So
then,
you've had quite the experience of moving around and developing new friendships and then leaving those friendships and then finding new friends again at different places and different schools. And do you have
I
siblings, Brian?
tried. I do. I do. Yep. I have two brothers, much younger than me. My brother, Patrick, he's 29, and my brother, Michael, who is 21.
So because they're
Uh,
much younger than you, you probably, I mean, as you were growing up, I mean, it's not
mhm.
like you can go out and do a whole lot of things together because of the
Yeah.
age
Yeah.
gap.
We did. Yeah. We had kind of a strained relationship. Um, so with my middle brother being 8 years younger than me, by the time I was 18, he was 10. So like
Yeah.
we didn't really, we tried. We're actually in the process of trying to rebuild our relationship now.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the
And
same
it's hard.
situation where my younger brother, 7 years younger than me. So
Mm,
it is a little bit challenging to kind of do a lot of things together. When you
yeah,
have that age gap, especially when you're young.
yeah, yeah, it is. And I definitely, had that teenage angst when he was growing up. So I was always frustrated or angry at him because he didn't understand and I didn't have anyone to play with. And it was, my two younger brothers definitely have more of a relationship, because there's a much less of an age gap.
Yeah, and that
So
makes
I'm glad
sense.
that they have those roots. Yeah, and I'm glad they have those relationships. But like I said, we're still trying to build ours back up since my whole family lives in Michigan right now.
So how did you? You're in Washington right now. How did you
Mhm.
end up going from um, Wisconsin to Washington? What
Yeah.
took you there?
So what happened was I was currently in a town called Oshkosh. I went to college there for a little bit, and my parents were in Michigan, and we went on a trip to Disney World. We'd go quite not all the time, but we'd go, every once in a while. And just happened that time, I happened to meet somebody in the Disney College program, and I just decided that was something I needed to do. So I go back to Oshkosh. I kind of packed my stuff up in a week, and I moved home to Michigan so I could restart school, so I could go to and qualify for the college program. So I did. I ended up going there January of 2012, for photography. And in that time, I actually met my wife. And she was born and raised in Spokane, Washington. So after we met, you know, I got engaged to her kind of all within that year. And by December of 2012, I was done with my program in Florida. And January of 2013, I packed everything up and I moved out here to start my life with her.
And you remain there. So,
Mhm.
um, do you have children?
No,
Oh, you don't have children. Okay.
no
Uh,
kids. Two cats and a dog.
so what do you do out there in Washington?
Like for work or just for
Yeah, for
fun
work. What do
or
you
just
do?
whatever.
Yeah, both.
Uh,
I mean, what do you do for work, and
yeah,
then how are your days out there?
yeah. So I right now I work for a company called Northwest Orthopedics Specialists as an IT systems administrator. So I'm currently just in the process of just like rebuilding our back end um, computer management systems. Um, that takes up a good chunk of my time. um, but otherwise, I'm just started getting into camping recently.
Oh wow.
Um, it's been an experience, that's for sure. Being a city guy, it's like, why do we go sleep outside? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
if you haven't done it as a kid and then you start in your adult years, it is a little bit of there's a learning curve and a disconnect because it just doesn't make
Oh
sense.
yeah. No, I know. It's like this is weird. But I'm finding that if I pair it with like something else as I'm out there, it makes it more enjoyable. So like I've discovered whitewater rafting, and then obviously a lot of hiking since I moved out here. I never really hiked before until I moved out here because in Wisconsin everything is flat and you have nature walks. Out here you don't really have nature walks. You have
Adventure
like,
walks.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have like switchbacks and going up 500 feet of elevation just like around the corner from a house. Like it's crazy, but it's fun and it's enjoyable. Um, and I mean, yeah, that's pretty much taking up most of my time is work, and then just like trying to travel as I can on weekends. Like I love Seattle; it's one of my favorite cities. So I try to get over there as frequently as I can.
Yeah. So Brian, in 2012 you get married,
Hmm.
right? And
2013,
okay,
2013.
so yeah, so 2013 you get married,
Hmm.
and at some point after you get married, I I mean you're just living a normal life. You're going to work. You're doing what you're doing. You have your wife. You guys are carrying on. And at some point during that time, you're developing this sickness, let's say.
Hmm.
So tell me about um, when you were first diagnosed, and and then even let's get into um, the year, how you noticed, what happened. So start me on that process of your journey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the journey actually, or the awareness started. Let me see if I can exactly pinpoint it here. I believe fall of 2008. And I just started college. So actually, I was in college for a little bit, but like I started going to a 4-year university, and you had to take a health class. So as we're going through all this, we're talking about women's reproductive health, men's sexual health, all of this kind of stuff in this unit, and they mentioned something about men's testicular cancer in how it shows up in different forms. It was actually kind of just like a real brief, sort of quick thing, and I didn't spend any time on it. Just, oh yeah, men can get testicular cancer this way and this way and this way. Um, and most of my life, I never knew it was a problem, but I did notice that my left testicle wasn't fully descended. And I
This is
just
while you're in school.
this is when I'm in college. Yep, yep.
Okay.
Um, everything was normal though, like no issues. I had two hernia surgeries as a kid. I attributed it to that due to like it was a birth defect hernia, so that got fixed when I was a kid. I just sort of attributed it to that.
Yeah, and you
Um,
wouldn't have even picked anything out unless you had this conversation in school.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah, it
exactly.
brought awareness, and you just started, hey, observing things, right?
Well, yeah, but it went to the point where it kind of like started freaking me out a little bit. I'm like, and I actually, very remember, I clearly remember calling my family. Like that night, I learned about it. And I said, hey, I think I could be getting testicular cancer. And they were like, well, why do you think that? And I'm like, well, my left testicle is higher up than my right one. Um, and they're like, no, 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 you're fine. No, don't worry about it. Are you having any issues? I'm like, no issues, no pain, no swelling, no nothing like that. And they're like, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm just like, okay. And I just wipe my hands of it. Um, so that kind of brought awareness to that something wasn't fully right at the time, in like my biology. So I just ignored it because nothing was going on. Um,
Like most people
and
would.
exactly, exactly. Because it was, I don't think it was necessarily like anxiety or being delusional or anything, or just being like paranoia or anything like that. I think it was just, hey, I don't think this is right. Let's go to the worst case scenario first, and then we'll work our way back. But my parents just like, I remember them, they're just like, nope, you're fine. You can't get it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm like,
Yeah. And this really was only
okay.
prompted because you had these discussions in class.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Never heard about it before in 20 years of living. Like literally in one class, I heard about this. So I thought that was just interesting. And then, like I said, yeah, I just forgot, just didn't care anymore when I'm living my life. Um, then we'll fast forward to 2015. So married almost 2 years at this point. Um, and I started noticing, I would say probably April of 2015. Um, Things were a little painful down there, like when I was like walking or hiking, but it didn't seem like I thought it was maybe like a pulled muscle or, I was thinking of everything else. Um, so it again became to the point then where it was like pretty painful to stand, to walk. It would go away, but then it would come back, and everything still looked fine down there. No swelling, no lumps, nothing like that. I was doing the checks.
Yeah. So you just have
Um,
physical discomfort at this point.
yeah, yeah, but the physical discomfort was located between my left testicle and my left leg, kind of in the middle there. I'm not sure exactly what that area is, but it'd be like upper inner thigh, almost to like the groin area, like in the middle. Like I said, I just assumed it was overexertion and thought nothing of it.
At no point
Uh,
during this, at no point did your mind go back to your college days.
Not once.
Really? Okay.
That's how quickly I forgot about it. I'm just like, done. Don't know. I'm good. I don't need to worry about this. Um, so I remember I was like, I'm in a lot of pain. I should maybe make an appointment with my PCP just to rule things out. Um, and this is the first time I've really had like insurance. So I'm definitely gonna jump on it and use it because I'm paying for it. Um, and I remember we got me in. What was it? We got him in the next day, and he gave me a quick exam. He's like, "Oh, it could be um, like a cyst. It could be like a fatty cell, or it could be." He's like, "It could be a whole bunch of different things. I don't think it's cancer." I'm like, "Okay,
Did
cool."
the word even come up, or did he say, "I don't think it's cancer," or did you ask him?
I
Because you just
asked. I
mentioned, "I
was,
don't think it's cancer." So, I mean, normally when somebody goes to check something out at the doctor, um, I don't think a doctor naturally says, "I don't think it's cancer," unless that conversation is had. Does that make sense?
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's what I did. I did bring it up. I'm like, I'm concerned it's testicular cancer. 'Cause I'm a worrywart. Like, I think of the far extremes of like the top end of worrying. Um, and that's kind of where my head was at that time because obviously,
Let's
it
rule
was
this out.
painful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, let's just go to the worst case and work our way back. Um, and he's like, we'll make 100% sure. So that same day, I got an ultrasound. Um, and then after the ultrasound, it was maybe 2 hours later, I got a call from my PCP that I need to come back. I'm like, okay. So my anxiety was just off the chart at this point.
I can imagine.
Um,
I was just going to ask you, what are you
yeah,
feeling at this point when, I mean, this happened really quickly for you. You know, you're at the
yeah,
doctor, you do an ultrasound, and he's saying, you got to get back in here.
yeah. It was terrifying because I just didn't know what it was, and I'm like, well, I've never really had any sicknesses before, so is this normal protocol? Like, do they normally call you back same day after a scan? Like, I don't know. So I went back there, and he pulled up my notes, and he was like, "It's cancer."
Oh, he knew right away.
Yeah,
No further testing. I mean, they just knew.
he knew because of how the blood was flowing, where it was. He could just see right in the scan that it
Oh, that's
was.
so
He's like,
interesting.
yeah, he's like, well, obviously do more tests, but he's like, it's cancer.
So
Um,
let me just stop you there because the one thing that is fascinating is what goes through people's mind and what
mhm,
your it's not even just your mind, but you know your mind starts racing. Different people react differently, so your body starts getting different reactions. What
mhm,
happened to you at that point? You're walking in there already with anxiety. You just said that he called you back in and you're getting worked up. So
yeah,
when you're in his office and you're sitting there and he says, Brian, you've been diagnosed with, or I'm diagnosing you with testicular cancer, and we're going to have to, do more tests. What do you feel at that point? What's going through your head, your body? Like, what's happening at that moment right there?
yeah. Um, it's really hard to remember because I remember I think I blacked out most of it just because it was just such a huge wave of shock. But I do remember that I was scared. I had my whole body started getting cold sweats. Um, I remember hugging my PCP and saying, "Why is this happening to me? This is going to change my life forever. Like, I don't know what to do." Like, it was the whole range of emotions, including like anger, fear, sadness, uncertainty. I think I felt all of that within like 15, 20 minutes. Like, I've never had that amount of wave of emotions before. Um, and with when I did that, he just, that's where it kind of gets a little blurry for me afterwards because I can't remember if we talked about treatment or what we wanted to do next. But I do remember that he wanted to get the ball rolling and get me in touch with a urologist.
So,
Um,
Brian, let me ask you this: um, you you're at the doctor by yourself. Your wife's not with you,
no, she's at
so
work.
you have to go home and have this conversation.
Yeah.
So, do you mind telling me a little bit about that? Because right now I could sense that this is a tornado hitting you. You have this conversation with your doctor. Um, he's telling you that you got to do more tests to confirm, but for the most part, you know what's going on, and now
Yes.
you have to make your way home under these conditions. Your mind is not there physically. Your body is probably somewhere else. I mean, not
Yeah.
literally, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and now you have to go home and have this conversation with your wife.
Yeah. 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 I remember, yeah, getting home and I remember calling her and I'm like, I need you to come home. I need to talk to you. So she literally just dropped everything and came home. And I told her what I knew. That still at that time, I didn't know much. I just knew that I had cancer and it was just probably testicular cancer. And I remember that there was just a lot of fear. There was a lot of sadness, a lot of tears, um, because it was just so uncertain. And we were like, why does this have to happen to me? Like I'm young. I think I'm like 25, 26 at this point. And I'm just like, I'm just too young. I can't have this happen to me. And I instantly thought my life's over with. Like I was having, like I was in a really bad spot.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so difficult for people to process when you hear that word, you know.
yeah,
And I like to call it the ribbon disease, just because even saying the word sometimes it man, it's just so tough to even hear that word. But and
yeah,
perhaps not for everybody, but for certain people who've gone through it, it's just and the word is it just yeah, I can't even explain it, but to try to
yeah,
process that and not know your outcomes, um, there's so much openness. It's open ended
yeah,
until you have a definitive direction. You know, at this point, it's so open ended. So yeah, go on with your story.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It, and I think that was a hard part for both of us because we didn't know what to do. Like we weren't told any next steps. We were just told to wait until like the urologist contacted me. Um, I remember calling my parents that day. Um, just a wreck. They were
And
very emotional and worked up.
your parents are back in Wisconsin at this point.
They're in Michigan at this point.
Okay, so they're not
Yeah.
with you. They're not in close proximity. You're
No.
not driving over, or they're not coming by to have a coffee with you and talk about this. So you have to do it on the phone.
Right. Yeah. I did. Yeah. Um, I can't remember if my in-laws gave me any sort of comfort or anything. I don't really remember that. Because my in-laws are here. Um, but I do remember a lot of silence afterwards. I just feel like there were so many thoughts racing in my head, so many voices. Like it was hard to calm down after hearing that. Um, and I know my wife was feeling the same way too, because she's never had to experience that before, and now her husband of 2 years has it. Like it was a very scary, uncertain day. And I think that was just the most frustrating thing is that this bombshell was dropped and then nothing. Um,
Yeah, this
and
is
again,
not
that's
something you can prepare for. I mean, it's not something
right.
that I mean, people just don't. I mean, you can't read this in a book and say this is how you're going to react. I mean, it's very individual. It's very personal. It's not something you
Yeah.
could study. It's just in the moment.
Yeah. It's just it it really challenges you, I think, as a human, to see how you handle hearing these tough things. Um, I know because there are some people who would go straight to like rage and anger, and or some people would turn to religion and whatever they need to help them like co-regulate maybe, or to just sort of find an inner peace while dealing with this. Um, it took me a while to find that. Um, but I knew that whatever it was, I couldn't give up. And whatever I was feeling, giving up is not the answer. And my wife felt the same way too. Um, so I was telling everyone kind of over a few days, few weeks, kind of what's been going on. Everyone's been supportive, reaching out, saying, "Are you okay?" All that kind of stuff. And I think within like 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, the urologist calls me. We get an appointment set up. I have my exam with him. My wife's with me at this time. My wife has come with me to every appointment since that first one because we didn't think it was anything. So she's been there. Well, she was at every other appointment going forward.
Our sponsor for today's episode comes from Audrey Souza, a licensed insurance advisor dedicated to helping families stay financially supported through life's toughest moments. From life and critical illness insurance to long-term financial protection, Audrey works with clients across Toronto and Southern Ontario to create personalized plans that bring peace of mind today and security tomorrow. You can learn more by reaching out on Instagram at Audrey Souza Insurance or by email at audrey.souza@dfsin.ca. That's audrey.souza@dfsin.ca, because your family's future deserves more than what ifs.
And like as soon as like I laid on the table as he was about ready to give the exam, like he just touched that area like very softly, and I just winced in pain. It was just, it was that painful. Um, I didn't really realize it that time, but now I knew that it was just a tumor in there, and it just was painful. Um, so he pretty much at that point, from what I remember, he said, "Yep, we're going to do an orchiectomy," and I'm like, "What's an orchiectomy? Are you just going to remove it? Like, what's the deal?" He's like, "No, no, no. We're gonna remove the tumor, and we're gonna remove your testicle." I was like, "Oh, okay." uh sure, like let's get going. Like, what am I gonna say? Like, can I keep my testicle that's possibly diseased and just hopefully it doesn't come back, or do we just do what the doctor says and just get rid of all the bad stuff? So we did. I think I got into surgery like 2 weeks after that, 2.5 weeks after that. It was all happened so quickly. Like,
I
I
was
was just
just going to say it
impressed.
happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, they were not wasting any time at all. Um, so had the surgery. I believe we waited a few weeks. 'Cause I don't really remember. No, I do. Okay. So I had the surgery, and I was probably 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks post-op. So I was almost back to normal. Um, when before all of this happened, we were going to go on a trip to Disney World with our friends that we met working there. It was just like a little get together. And we're like, well, we can't cancel this. Like, we've invested so much money, so much time. So we went there after my orchiectomy, and I was still healing and walking miles a day, and I was feeling pretty good, all things considered. Um, Probably wasn't the best idea to go. We probably should have rested a few more weeks, but there were no issues.
Yeah,
So,
Brian, let me ask you this. At any point in your conversations with your surgeon,
Mhm.
did you did the conversation of quality of life, success rate, what's going to happen to me going forward, did any of that happen, or was it just as simple as, listen, you got to go in for surgery, you're good, you're done, and you can move on with your life?
Yeah. No, we never talked about prognosis. We never talked about treatment going forward. We never talked about any of that. So I know there are like urologists and cancer specialists, that kind of do both, but I just had just a regular urologist, who did the surgery. So he was just focused on getting the tumor out, healing, and then we were going to check my blood and figure out. And after, obviously, we're going to do a biopsy as well. Not a biopsy. I can't think of the word, where they dissect the tumor and figure out exactly what it is. Seminoma, non-seminoma, all that. Pathology.
Yeah, pathology
Um,
report. Yeah.
yeah. Before we did anything else, before any referrals, he was just focused like one thing at a time. Um, and so we had the pathology come back, and at that point he said, we're going to get you over to an oncologist. Before he even told me the pathology report, he wanted to refer me right away to an oncologist. And I
So
was like,
let me
okay.
yeah, let's just pause there for a second, because as this is progressing, um I mean, there's there's a lot to process for you at this point because you've gone through a few different things, and now you just had surgery, and now they're saying, "I'm going to send you to somebody else. I'm
Mhm.
going to send you to an oncologist." So, how do you process that?
That's I don't really remember how I processed it. I really think there was a lot of disassociation at that time. I think there was a lot of I can't believe this is happening, and just sort of, versus like a fight or flight mode. I was instantly just like, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? And I didn't really take the time, I think, to grieve or absorb the information that I was given. I think I was just focused on the next step because I still didn't know anything. Like, I had surgery and I wait 4 weeks, and then what? Like, it was more of how proactive can I be without knowing anything.
Yeah, I find it so
Um,
bizarre that the way the medical system works, you didn't have like more direction on it. Somebody takes care of
yeah,
something and says, "No, I'm going to pass you on to this person, and just go talk to them and see what's going on next." And I just find that so bizarre
yeah. It was
because it
weird.
leaves things so open in your head.
I know. I just assumed that having the surgery and I'd be good and done. Like, that's what I thought. Um, but we had what is it? I'm trying to remember. So we then yeah, we got the pathology back, and I was going over it with my urologist, and he said that it is 100% non-seminoma and embryonal carcinoma.
And
Um,
and and in English, what does that mean?
that basically means that it is the most aggressive form of testicular cancer that you can have. Where it moves so quickly and it spreads so quickly to your lymph nodes, to your lungs, that it's a fast moving tumor. And basically it's just how the cells are made up. They're making up this, non-seminoma. I still don't really know the full details of it.
Yeah, it's a little
Um,
bit beyond our pay grade, right?
exactly, or maybe our comprehension too. I don't know. But the embryonal carcinoma is what they were really focusing on, was because when it's carcinoma, it's fast, and it's so fast, it's like you got to move quickly, or else it could spread to a lymph node, and then just go from there. Um, and his suggestion was to do, I believe it's an RPLND, retro lymph node dissection. Basically, they would cut me open from belly to chest and remove my lymph nodes in that area, because they didn't. The blood work came back, and my tumor markers were still high, so it didn't. It did come into my blood, and it wasn't just confined to the tumor. So his suggestion was to just have the surgery and remove my lymph nodes, and I was not comfortable with that because I still need my lymph nodes. Um, I get we don't want to, have anything else metastasize inside of there, but there has to be another option. Um, that's when I went over to my oncologist, and he looked over everything, and within, oh man, it was a long appointment, but it was within the first 20 minutes, he said, "We're going to have to do chemo." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It's better than a surgery. Yeah.
Sometimes,
So,
yeah.
yeah. And, during that time, within that span of working with my oncologist before we actually started chemo, I had MRIs done, I had CT scans done. We were just making sure nothing else was growing inside my stomach or in my chest or my lungs or anything like that. And we did end up finding something in my chest. I believe it's called a thymoma, which is basically just a tumor in the chest. But it didn't spread up there because it would be like, from my understanding, there'd be like a path. It was like a lymph node, chest, lungs, whatever, wherever it's going to go. This just sort of appeared. And that's when he decided that chemo was going to get rid of everything in my chest, any sort of tumor markers that's growing or anything like that. Um,
So
so
let me ask you this, because I'm just trying to absorb your experience and the whole process. At a
yeah.
certain point, there's a mental aspect,
Mhm.
and it's something that I would say is very seldom spoken. People don't
Mhm.
generally talk about the mental aspect of it, which I believe is huge. And
Yes.
and you're going through this now, from diagnosis to surgery to, yeah, I think maybe things are good, to possibly um, having another surgery opening you up, to now you have to do chemo. So in this whole time, there's so many things happening.
Yeah.
How's your, like, were you mentally strong at this point saying, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it? Or was there some type of battle going on in your head? Because for different people, they absorb and react differently. And some people are just super strong. Some people, what was your state like?
It from I was I think I thought I was mentally stronger than I was because of I was just making decisions. And I'm like, let's just keep moving forward. This is what the doctor suggests. Let's do this. We got a second opinion. Let's go with this second opinion and let's keep moving forward. And obviously, all the other stuff was kind of in the back of my mind, such as insurance. I'll have to take time off of work. How will I feel? I feel like I was in like game plan mode at this time. Um, and definitely having the support of my wife was huge. Um, because she was kind of there to kind of keep me level headed. Anytime I was kind of going off, trying to think of any sort of like self destructive things I could do just to kind of cope with what I was feeling. Um, but ultimately, it was let's keep moving. Let's keep doing this. I don't want to keep getting sick. I don't want this to get worse. I don't want to die. And then I'll process everything later.
Right. So
Just
at
sort
this point,
of
your mind is
burying it.
still, you're ready to fight. Let's move on. Let's go forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're in a decent place considering what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I, was still working my job like normal. I was living life like normal. Everything. I just needed to feel some sense of normalcy before treatment started because I had no idea what was going to be involved with this. And we knew that it was going to be 3 rounds of chemo. So I knew that was going to be at least 6 to 8 weeks I was going to be out. But I also didn't know how I was going to feel. I knew nothing because you don't really hear people talk about what you hear people like, yeah, yeah, I had the flu. It felt like I had the flu for a few weeks, or I just felt really weak and really tired or nauseous. Like those are all like the basic things you hear. And that's sort of what I was mentally preparing for, just having a really bad flu for a few weeks. Uh, so I think the stress of that was something that I was slowly already mentally preparing for. So I didn't have to worry about that. I could worry about other things, but how I'm feeling during these next 6 to 8 weeks it's gonna be nothing. It's gonna be a cakewalk. It's gonna be a piece of cake. Like I got this. No big deal. We'll be done. We'll be out of there. We won't have to deal with this again. So I think it was a little bit of denial at the same time. Um, just because I think I was still in shock because everything was just going so quickly and had to process and make decisions fast. So I think what I do, I mean, most male boys are told to do as they grow up: bury your feelings, hide them, don't show emotions, don't do any of that because you don't want to be looked at as weak. And I think I was still applying that to going through just the process of starting chemo. I've learned that that's not wasn't the best option to do. Um,
Yeah, I was going to ask. I wanted to. I was. I mean, you're kind of telling me already, and you're answering the questions before I asked them, because I wanted to revisit that and ask you if you still felt that later on, and
yes,
and we can continue getting into that because it is. I think the mental health part of it is huge. So
yeah, yeah. I definitely did not think about it really how I'm feeling. Like, I wasn't in therapy at the time. I just was like, okay, what do you know? You know to bury your feelings, bury your emotions, and just appear strong because you're a guy, and proceed with what's going on in front of you. You have it laid out for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Just hide the emotions and keep moving forward. And it worked. It worked for a little bit. Um, it I never really let the emotions get to me at the time because I also didn't want to seem like a burden to my wife. Um, like, oh, I'm so sick. Oh, I can't do this. I don't want to do that. I did not want to appear that way.
yeah, you didn't want
So
that victim mentality, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm like, why I shouldn't need to be a victim because I know what's going on. I have the treatment plan in front of me. It's not woe is me. What do I do? It's okay. You got to get up 8 a.m., get to the infusion center, and take a little nap and put rocket fuel into you, basically. Um, and that worked for the first 2 cycles, 2.5 cycles. Um, and that's when things started to go downhill when I was halfway through treatment. Like, I lost all my hair. Um, because that sort of proved that it was real. What I was going through was real. I had white blood cell shots. I was vomiting multiple times a day. I couldn't keep food down. I was falling asleep on the floor because I couldn't stand up.
So the reality of the brutality of these treatments is sinking in. You're
Big
physically
time.
feeling it, and the physical part seems like now it's draining you mentally.
Yeah, I was a shell of a person by the time treatment. I was probably a week out from my starting my last cycle. Um, and I couldn't do anything. I could barely stand up. I was taking Zofran like it was candy because I was just so nauseous. I the physicality of all of it is just undescribable. Like, it's not like having the flu. It's not being sick for a few weeks. It cripples you.
Yeah. So Brian, the one thing that I wanted to just touch on is that when people talk about chemotherapy,
Mhm.
and this is something that I didn't learn until 2015, is that unless you've gone through something like this or you've been diagnosed and you're in that zone, let's say, many people don't realize that chemotherapy is not one drug. Depending
Yeah,
on what you're diagnosed with, there's many different types and strengths of chemotherapy. Um, so it's for one person to say it felt like the flu, it might have been for them
yeah,
because they might not have had the same treatment that you had.
yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people, you know, get confused and a lot of the information is not 100% accurate. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I just thought it was one drug too. I just thought
Yeah.
I'd be hooked up to an IV with that medicine and then I would be good. But I didn't find out till my first oncology appointment that 3 rounds is not actually 3 times. It's a week and a day. That's 1 round. A
Yeah.
week and a
And many
day.
times
A
it's
week
not
and a day.
only, and many times it's not just that, but it's not just one drug that you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. I had three. Um, I had something called BEP, which is like this, the, uh, I don't know, the basic form of treatment for testicular cancer. It's bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin.
And each one
Um,
of those names represents a different type of chemotherapy.
yes. Yep. They're all different colors too. One was like yellow, one was orange, and one was clear. And I'm like, this is weird. I should be getting something that's green. I don't know. Like it's just you had all these thoughts running through your head, and then you learned that you're going to be given them not all at the same time. You're going to be given to them separately. So my cycle consisted of Monday through Friday. I believe it was about 4 to 5 hours a day, and I would get etoposide and cisplatin. So they would do one till it was empty, another one till it was empty, and then a saline bag, and then that was the end of my treatment for just Monday through Friday. And then I would go in the following week on Monday and get bleomycin, and then I was always concerned. I was like, well, why can't I just have all of them all at the same time? Like, why do I have to have two for 5 days and then one and then not go the rest of the week? And he then started to explain it to me that bleomycin is a very aggressive chemotherapy treatment, and that it can cause permanent lung damage. Same, and then cisplatin can cause hearing loss, and etoposide can cause this. And he was just kind of letting me know what all the different side effects are going to be, or permanent side effects.
Yeah.
And
So
he didn't
each
want
one
to
has a different
mix.
side effect,
Yep.
right? A
Yep.
long-term
Yep.
side effect, and each one would also have a different short-term side effect too on how your body absorbs and
Yeah.
reacts to them, whether it be like you said, the nausea, or whether it be hair loss, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. 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 He didn't exactly explain like what would happen. He was just saying, oh, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But he wanted to make sure that the bleomycin, since it was so aggressive and so powerful, that I needed a full week to recover after getting it administered. Um, and those were always the hard weeks when I just had to go in Monday for like 4 or 5 hours and then have the rest of the week off. Like I needed that week off because I was
It,
so weak
it just
and
beats you up.
beat me up. And thankfully, I didn't have any permanent lung damage, so no damages there. But I do have hearing loss from the cisplatin. I do need hearing aids. Um, but that, and then I had another side effect of, um, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but my toes would vibrate, like a neurological issue.
That's so
I,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, I had that for a few months, and then that went away. Um, But yeah, those were only like the really big side effects that I received from it. Like I said, I'm still dealing with the hearing loss now. Um, but it's better than
So,
having
so
cancer.
going into these chemotherapy treatments,
Hmm.
you just weren't prepared for this. Like,
No.
people are telling you, hey, it's you can feel like the flu, you'll get through it. The doctor's really not going into what can or can't happen to you physically or mentally, and and you go in with a positive mentality of let's get this over with,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're getting beat up physically, your body's changing,
Yeah.
you have hair loss, you're nauseous, you're weak. Is there anything else that stuck out at that time that was difficult physically, let's say?
Yeah. Um, Not being able to participate in things. Like not being able to, I could barely leave the house. Like the sun would hurt my eyes. I would get sunburn on my bald head. Like it, it was kind of like it was scary to go out to the elements.
Yeah.
But
There's
if
so
I
many
knew I had to,
intangibles that we just don't think of, right?
yeah, yeah, you really don't think of those. And you know, you think, oh, you know, I don't need nausea medicine. I don't need this. I don't need that. By the time my treatment was half over, I had a whole chemo bag. It had water, it had an iPad, it had a charger, it had food that I could eat, protein shakes that I needed something in my body. Ginger candy to help the nausea. Like I was so unprepared at the beginning, but by the time the treatment was almost done, I would say I was a seasoned veteran. I don't, I don't know. Like I
Mm.
felt prepared, but my body was not.
I have a question for you.
Mm,
Um, did you, when you were doing your chemo treatments in the
mhm.
moment, were you able to taste metal in your mouth?
Yes. Yep. That's why I had the candies to help with the metal. Yeah.
Because
Um,
that's a disgusting experience.
it was horrible. I'm like, why? What is going on? Like I did not understand. And then I had to tell the nurse, I was like, I'm tasting metal. Is everything okay? Like, oh yeah, you're fine. Okay. um, what? Like I could not wrap my head around it at the beginning. And then I kind of talked to the nurses some more and like they were kind of able to explain it a little bit more. Um, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want this anymore. They're like, yeah, we have some candies for you here. If you want to bring your own, that's okay. Like you're going to be tasting it for a while. I'm like, great, great. On top of nausea, I'm tasting metal.
Yeah. Speaking to somebody who, I mean, you're speaking to the nurse at this point, or possibly your wife who's there for support, but speaking to somebody who hasn't experienced that, it's um it's a difficult thing to have that conversation when you're not just, you got this nausea happening, you're so weak, you're beat up, your hair is not there, you got metal taste in your mouth. Some people talk about the color of their urine being completely different, and so many
Hmm.
things is just happening right now. And to speak to somebody who hasn't been through it,
Hmm.
um, do you find that it's a little bit challenging, even though they're there to comfort you and you can speak to them, but the relatability, it's a big factor.
It is. It is. It is hard to relate to someone who's never gone through it. Like just like we can't relate to someone who's given birth. Like we can't relate to that life. Chemo. The best way I describe it to people is it feels like you have the flu times 20 plus anything else you don't expect will come at you. And you may feel fine for a few weeks after your first cycles of treatment, like I did. I felt great for about 2 weeks because it was just getting started. But then it just shifted within a day. And I literally felt like I was getting beat down with a hammer. Like it just went, the change, just such drastic change of it is just, you can't prepare anyone for it because they may feel horrible from day one, or they may not feel anything, through 3 cycles. Like I remember, so my grandpa was going through chemo. I think right before I did, because he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he was going through that, and he was kind of telling me about his experience. And he said that cycle 3, because he had 7 cycles of his chemo,
And
and he
again,
said
his
cycle.
chemo, sorry, but his chemo might not necessarily have been the same chemo as your chemo. He might have had maybe one or two of those, maybe none, but
Exactly.
but they're not exactly the same. So it's very difficult even to compare even that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know that. I just assumed everyone just kind of had the same chemo.
Yeah.
That's just how little we know about it.
Yeah. Because we hear the
And
word chemo and we
yeah,
just think it's one thing. right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I thought it was a pill at the beginning. I thought I was going
yeah,
to be taking a pill of chemotherapy, which is a thing,
yeah.
but no. Like I had to go get
No.
a port installed and everything. Like it was far more invasive than I expected. And he was telling me that he started feeling horrible at about cycle 3. And I'm like, okay, good to know. I'll watch out for that. Um, we'll see. Like I just kind of just listened to his advice. I didn't really like use it or like believe him in a way. And yeah, it just happened to work out that right before I started cycle 3 is when my body started shutting down. It was
Did you
incredible.
find
Yeah.
after that point, so subsequent to cycle 3, and you started feeling your body shut down and you started feeling the effects of all the chemo, did you
Mhm.
find that for the next little while you were doing your treatments that every day was a new experience for you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Every day was, I just need the strength to get in the car and get to my infusion center. That was the only thing on my mind. Like it cycle 3 was the worst time for this whole process. Like, because my body's already adapted to the drugs. So things are starting to happen more and more. I've lost a ton of weight. I was having spots on my skin, like the chemo skin. Um, the chemo brain was in full effect. I was struggling to even get basic words out half the time because I just was struggling to think. And yeah, just I didn't know what every day was going to expect. Like I wanted to make sure that I got out of bed, I got to my center, fall asleep as I'm getting it, infused in me, and then I needed to make sure my blood pressure was high enough to leave. Like those were the only things on my mind at that time. Um, Unfortunately, during cycle 3, I was there a lot longer after because my blood pressure dropped so low over that time, and it was like I had to get up to go to the bathroom every few hours, every to like I had to fill up a urine container. Um, so I'm just pounding the liquids, just whatever I could put in my body without making me throw up. And like it was hard just to get out of the chair and walk my IV over to the bathroom because my joints hurt, my muscles hurt, like I was dizzy all the time. Like it was a struggle just to function basically by the third cycle.
Yeah. I want to revisit something you said earlier. You had mentioned that your white cells were
Yeah.
low. Now, when your white cells are low, um, you mentioned that you had got a shot
Mhm.
to boost them, and that's right. Okay, so
Mhm.
do you remember the name of that shot?
I don't remember the name of the shot. I just remember vividly how I felt.
That's what
Um,
I was going to ask you because
yeah.
so I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I'm thinking the shot was Neupogen. Um, I could be wrong. I don't know
Probably.
if that name rings a bell.
It does a little. It does a little. Actually, just I found my whole binder of paperwork from 10 years ago that had all of my notes in it. And I think I remember
Yeah.
coming across that.
Yeah. So when you took that shot, it basically, again, I'm just asking because I'm not a doctor, obviously, and I don't have this knowledge firsthand in terms
Mhm.
of the medical terms and everything like that. But it basically gets white blood cells spitting out of your lower back, your bone marrow area. Is that
That's true.
yeah? Okay. So do you remember that experience?
Yes. Yes, I do. I remember I had 2 shots. Uh, I think they were a month apart, if I remember correctly, or maybe a week apart. I know I wasn't given them at the same time. It was one, and then I had another one. And the first one was just a shot. Felt fine. a little soreness in the injection site, but it was fine. That second shot, though, how have I described it to people? It felt like every bone in my body was hurting and that it was on fire. And I just laid on the couch. I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't move my toes. Like turning my neck hurt. But it literally felt like every single bone in my body was hurting. And I never want to experience that again.
Yeah, and there's no relief from it. It's not like it comes and goes.
No, it's just bam. Like I thought I was going to be fine. So like I'm going about my day, and then I'm like, something doesn't seem quite right. Let me just go home. Let me just rest. And then within 30 minutes of rest, like just sitting down, just a wave of pain from like the back of my neck all the way down to my toes. And it just hurt to like lift a foot. Like it was incredibly painful. And then it was just gone like the next day. Like I'm like, I don't know how I can deal with this. If I have to deal with this for a week, I'm gonna be miserable. And I tried ibuprofen, I tried Tylenol, just whatever the doctor said I could take. Um, None, no relief. Like
Yeah,
sleeping was impossible that night.
I've heard. I mean, if it was Neupogen, which we haven't confirmed or don't know, but if it was Neupogen, which again I believe that's the drug. Um, I mean, people get admitted for how much pain they go through.
Really, I didn't know that. Oh, I thought about it. I truly thought about it because I was by myself, like my wife was at work. So I'm just like sitting there on the couch, just like, I can't move. I can't move. So I had to like go on the floor. I was like stretching. I was doing everything I could to get some relief. Nothing worked.
It's it's pretty special that you can share all that information with us and find a way to give back, because to relive some of these things, it's difficult. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate you sharing all that. So you're you're going through chemo now. You're on your third round of chemo.
Yeah.
Um, Continue on from there and tell me about what's happening at this point.
Yeah. So by this point, I would say I'm probably halfway through cycle three. Yeah. Yeah. Roughly halfway through cycle three. And I guess I'm miserable. Like the sun hurts, the water hurts, my sensory like overload was just unimaginable. Like I did not. There were a couple times I remember like I don't want to keep going on. I don't know if I can keep doing this because I knew it was just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I, yeah, there were times when I wanted to give up because of how miserable I felt. And we found out that week that we had an appointment with my oncologist because he would meet with me, I think every other week, and we would just kind of go over blood work and how things are going, how I'm feeling, all of that. So I'm just slowly walking into his office. Like I have sunglasses on because the bright lights were in the office were just torture. Like, and I have no life in me whatsoever. Like you can just tell I'm just like dead inside, it feels like. Um, and I didn't really want to talk to him. I didn't really want to hear what he had to say because I just know I couldn't have handled it. And he comes in, he's like, okay, let's go over your blood work. Starts going through it, and he's like, you're done. I was like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, yeah, your numbers are looking good. Everything went down. Get out of here. I was like, at that moment, I just did not know what to say. I think I think my brain sort of short circuited for a moment because I didn't know how to process that news. Like it wasn't bad news. And that was the crazy thing is like I think it was such a change from my last like 5, 6 weeks that I've had to hear that. It was just sort of overwhelming.
You didn't
And
know
I just,
going into those. You didn't know going into that last treatment or round of treatment that you were like, this is how many treatments you have to do, and then you're done. You weren't aware of it at the time, or it was just a week by week thing.
I knew I needed 3 cycles. That was the treatment plan. I knew I had a few more days left on my third cycle, but he canceled it early
Okay.
because the numbers came back so good.
So all your elation basically and your surprise was because you didn't realize that you were done or that he possibly could have come in and said, "You're done." You're thinking you still got some to go.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm just because that was the mentality that I was forming, was that okay, I have these many days ahead of me. I need to just be good to go for these few hours, these days, for 3 cycles. That's all I need to do. And when he told me that you're done early, like I did not, again, I could not process that. And I remember once it all hit me, I just broke down crying because I'm like, I was so close to giving up. Like I could not keep doing this. I am just, I feel like nothing. And hearing that was just, I think it just at the right time is what I needed to hear. And he delivered. Like I said, I
Yeah.
had no expectations. No, I just knew it was going to be, it just felt like every other appointment I've had with him during chemo. It was, oh, AFP is a little bit higher, LDH is high. Let's keep going. Oh, still high. Let's keep going. So I was preparing for that conversation and it didn't happen. And yeah, I got out of there as quickly as I could and went straight to bed.
I bet. I bet. And you probably had a little bit of a recovery period. How long did it take for your body to find some type of normalcy before these drugs, were out of your body, out of your system, and you started feeling a little bit better, the light's not hurting, the nausea, is slowly going away?
Yeah.
How long? Because at this point, your mind has got to be in a good place. I mean, you're probably
Yeah.
battling between, I still feel like hell,
Mhm.
and then the flip side to that is, I know I'm getting better now. I'm on the exit. I'm on the way out. So what's happening at this point?
I think it took about 2 months for me to start feeling normal. Um, and there was a sense of, I can keep going. I can do this. I'm done. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again. And I was in that mode again where I'm just like, okay, I have to go get blood every few weeks. I have to go get CT scans. I have to go get MRIs. And I'm like, let's just go, 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 go. Let's put this behind me and never talk about it, think about it again. And yeah, so it took me about 2 months to start feeling normal. Went back to work. Um, the hair started coming back, which I was very grateful for because I did hear that some people's hair never comes back after chemo. And that freaked me out because I love my hair. Um, and yeah, it came back and it came back super curly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just like ridiculously curly. My beard came back much darker than what I had before. Like it was just like a whole change within those few months afterwards. Um, and then once I got a haircut and shaved and everything, I got rid of it and it grew back to normal, like just 100% back to normal. Um, and then I think I had my port out at the beginning of 2016 because we knew once getting the port out, that confirmed that we are done. Like having it there was kind of like a crutch almost, just kind of like, oh man, I've had this with me since May. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to give it up yet. Like, it's just, I've learned to live with this. This is just who I am. And then getting it out was kind of weird feeling. Like, I almost like lost a part of me in a way. Um, but once that came out, I knew that I'm done.
Yeah. So when you have that port in, it's it's interesting because you just said it feels like it's a part of you. I mean, you're you're going to shower, you got to cover that thing up. You're getting it, you know, you have to go to the nurse and they got to flush it out and clean it up every week, 2 weeks, or however long that is. And it's just
Yeah.
like it's an extension of you physically at that point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I literally had to get extra bandages and lidocaine before treatment so I could numb up the area and put a patch on it so they didn't have to do it when I went to the infusion center just because it was very painful. And yeah, they flushed it every day. Just looking at that thing in there was just, it was like weird. And then it just became to learn that I need this in me right now to get better. And I can't have any hard feelings about it because either this or they mess my arms up and my veins up with injecting me with a needle every single day. Um, and then yeah, so yeah, getting it out was, it was really quick. It was much quicker to take it out than it was to put it in. Um, but yeah, like that was just like, I think that was like the final wave of emotions that I felt was that I'm done, and
So
now
once
we're
you got
just good to
that out,
spray.
it was official.
Yeah,
You know, it was a sign. It was almost like, you know, it was almost like smelling the grass in the spring, and you know that season is coming around, and the sunshine is coming, and you know,
exactly.
so I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but
No, it was just, it felt like there was a weight off my shoulders. It felt like the anxiety was gone. It felt like I had less fear. Um, because always having that after treatment was done. I mean, I had it for almost 6 months after I was done with treatment.
oh, wow.
And yeah, they were like, just in case, just in case, just in case. So it was always, we'll keep it in you in case we need it again. And then it was finally, we're done. Let's get that
So
thing out.
so they're creating a sense of doubt while it's still in there, and that's basically what's happening is because that doubt is always maybe when they're telling you just in case let's not remove it yet. There's still something going on that's saying, listen, I'm not really done until this thing is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they obviously presented it in a way that sounded professional, medical, hopeful, all of this. But deep down, it was just in case, just in case. Let's wait for your numbers to come back. That's like, it was always that. Um, so that fear was still there. Like, it never went away after treatment was done. Like, I thought I was done, but it was still, eh, we just don't know. And yeah, the number stayed low. Scans came back clean. And I'm like, let's get this out now. I'm done.
So you know what I want to explore a little bit with you, Brian, is you said it took a couple months for things to start normalizing.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking you're talking about physically. Are you adding in the mental part as well? Or at this point, is there still challenges mentally? Because they're separate. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of people don't realize that, but those are two separate elements that you have to fight. You're fighting all the physical things that are happening to you. You're also fighting a mental battle. Um, and I'm not speaking for everybody because maybe some people are strong enough that they don't have that mental battle, but it's a real thing.
Oh yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah. Um,
A
honestly,
lot of
I would.
people get PTSD after their treatments. I mean, I've
Yeah,
heard so many stories of people can't go by the hospital or you know, that clinic that you were at, or, you know, people are constantly checking themselves for symptoms that they originally had. And so that mental part is not as easy to get rid of as your, let's say, the physical side of it, because the physical side, once your hair comes back, you start gaining some strength. that's one aspect of it. But are you mentally back to normal, or are there things going on in your head that you're finding, hey, I'm struggling with this?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I would say I was still compartmentalizing what I was going through and still kind of burying the emotions, what I was feeling. I definitely had some triggers, like smelling certain air fresheners that I would have in my house when I was sick. So anytime I smelled that, I would instantly get sick. Yeah, I was obsessively checking over things because anytime I felt a little off, I was like, am I sick again? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah, your
I don't
mind defaults to that, right?
exactly. Because it was, I mean, it was a traumatic experience. Like everyone had, like, you can't sugarcoat it any other way. It's traumatizing. Um, and I think the best way that I dealt with it mentally, I think I just stopped thinking about it. Honestly, I think I just, okay, I'm done. Don't have to do this anymore. Let's just purge this from my memory. Let's just move forward.
So did you make a
And
conscious effort to do that, or is this something that just naturally happened, that as days and weeks went by, you just thought about it less and less and it kind of went away?
uh, gradually went away. Yeah. Because I knew that thinking about it, dwelling on it, what I went through wasn't going to help. And I said to myself, well, I'm never going to go through this again. This is the toughest thing in my life. I'm done. And I think because of how traumatic it was, how much of a physical and mental toll it took on me, I think I wanted to forget. Um, because I didn't want to have these things reoccurring or come up. Like, I want to be able to talk about this and just say, "Oh yeah, I had cancer in my balls. It's fine. It's fine." Like, just sort of like put some humor behind it because it is an uncomfortable topic. Um, and if I could turn it into humor, that could also help with how I'm feeling mentally. Maybe processing things a little bit better. Maybe coping with it more. So I just turned to other outlets in a way to, I think, not make it seem as detrimental as it was. Because again, there was probably a sense of denial. I mean, and I think the fact that everything happened so quickly. So, like from April to August, that was my whole diagnosed, surgery, treatment, done. April to August. It just happened. It was just over a summer. Like, I didn't have to live with it for years and years and years, like some people do. And I just thought, like, well, I got the rest of my life in front of me. Let's just say this happened and let's move on.
So how did
And
you move on?
just got back
What
to life.
happens? Yeah, what happens after that?
Nothing changed. I went back to work. Once I felt strong enough to hike again, I went hiking. I would watch movies. Like literally, it went from, so 2015 was, January to April, roughly May. Um, I was living my life like normal. April to August, I had my cancer journey. And then from like August to December and beyond, everything went back to normal. Like it didn't feel like there was that gap in my life where I had all of this. I just literally just, it's like I picked up where I left off. And, it was going back to work. I saw my family. Because that was the first time I saw my actual family was at the end of the year, 2015. And they never saw me going through treatment. They never saw me, like they called, we FaceTimed, all that, but they, I didn't want them to see me. And I think that's part of the issue as well, is the only support I had were my wife's family. Um, and, I could have used my parents during some of those days, but I didn't want them to see me looking like a zombie. Like, I just didn't want to put them through that. But yeah, like I said, everything just went right back to normal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Working. Yeah. I don't like how I did that though. Um, I really wish I wish I went to a therapist during that time, um, and processed that grief and what I went through instead of just forgetting about it. Like, I didn't bury it. I didn't like process it in a healthy way. I don't think I did. Like, I didn't turn to substances when I was done. I just went back to living. Like, I buried myself in work, but I think it's one of those things where it's like out of sight, out of mind now. And I wish if I could have done things over, I wish I would have done through therapy during that time. Have a
Because of the
healthy
mental
relationship. Yeah. Yeah. And have like a healthy relationship with this disease. 'Cause I mean, I know you it kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but like it changed me, it changed who I was, but I didn't let it affect me that much. I just took on that identity. Like, I'm still Brian. I'm still going to do Brian things. Like, that's not going to change. But now I'm also a cancer survivor.
yeah.
And that's just who I was. Like, because I thought I would never get it again. Truly.
I think when people become part of this community, it's always with you.
Yeah.
It just always is. I mean, it's not something that, hey, I broke my leg and I'm moving on from it. I mean, you're always part of this community. You
Yeah.
you you absorb things differently. I think for the most part, people see life differently after they go through an experience like this. And I
Yeah.
can't speak for everybody, obviously. It's an individual thing. But for the people that I have spoken to, I mean, there's a huge transformation that happens that you're viewing things post this experience very differently than you would have prior to this experience. Is that pretty fair?
Yeah, for the most part. Um, I I think over the last 10 years, from now and 10 years ago, I think I treated it like I just broke my leg. I just, had tonsillitis or something, like just made it seem just like just a normal medical condition. I think, and again, I still think that's a little bit of denial. I think there does need to be some acceptance when it comes to something like cancer and chemo. Um, but yeah, so I tell someone like, "Oh yeah, I had cancer." They're like, "What? Are you okay?" Like, just this like shock. And I'm like, "Oh no, it's fine. Just, I had chemo. We're good. We're good." Like, I think treating it or downplaying the seriousness of it is something I wish I haven't really done. I wish I kind of did what I'm doing now, like bringing awareness to it, making people, educating and, focusing on, the mental health of all of this, because what I did was not healthy, but it also wasn't toxic. It didn't like, I didn't turn to other things to cope. I just forgot. And I think that's why I don't remember a lot of what happened 10 years ago, is because of all that trauma and all of that experience is just something I just wished to forget.
Yeah.
And talking about it and obviously going through like my binder of notes that I had from 10 years ago brought up a lot of stuff that I did not remember. And it's been kind of therapeutic in a way, almost cathartic, but it definitely reminded me how serious it was.
Ryan, your journey didn't end there.
No, it did not.
So you're in 2015. You finish your treatments. You're mid to tail end of the summer. You go on, for the rest of that year, and you're trying to find normalcy in your life. Holiday season comes
Yeah.
around, and everything. But your journey with this disease didn't end there.
No.
So it ended there temporarily. Tell me about how it started again in terms of your journey
Yeah.
with this experience.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
call it part 2.
Part 2, season 2. Yeah, so 10 years living like normal. Just job changes, bought a house, got a dog, like just living life. And, at that point, I'm 1 year out. So I go every year for blood work, and then every 2 years, and every 5 years. So at this point, I'm like, almost the 10-year mark hits, and I'm like, I'm golden. There's no way this is coming back. And during that time, I picked up therapy. I, was starting to work on myself more. Um, then June of this year, um, I was at work, and well, it kind of started before June. So I noticed earlier in the beginning of the year that my right testicle was getting a little bigger than it should. Um, I think that's when the denial really set in, that I'm like, there's no way this can be cancer again. It's probably just some other weird medical disease. And, or like I had a vasectomy back in 2021, 22, something like that. And I'm like, oh, it's just part of the vasectomy. It's fine. It's fine. And kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time the end of May hit, it was about the size of a goose egg. And I'm like, okay, something's going on here. And I go to work one day, sitting in my chair, and at this point, I can't sit. It's something is going on down there, and it is so painful. So that morning, I went to urgent care just to rule it out, because again, this is very uncomfortable. Um, and then within about an hour, I was checked into urgent care, saw a ultrasound. I got an ultrasound done and met with the doctor all within an hour. And he said that it is most likely cancer, but we're going to get you over to a urologist to make sure. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, is this seriously can't be happening? 10 years later, I get it in my other testicle, my last remaining testicle? Like, no, no, you're just pulling my leg, man. Um, and so this was on a Monday. I saw my urologist on a Wednesday. And after getting blood work done and all the basic tests done, he was like, yep, it's testicular cancer.
So that's got to be a major shot in the gut, because when you hear it the first time, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when you try to forget about it for all this time and try to move on with your life, and you hear those words repeated to you, man, that's what was like, I asked you what happened, what went through your mind the first time you had it, but it almost feels silly to ask what went through your mind the second time, because I mean, things have to be really amplified, because now you're revisiting everything that you went through, where for 10 years you tried to forget it.
Yeah.
And now all that stuff has got to be, coming back. And what's going on at this point?
The biggest one was shock. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what? This can't be possible. Like, it was just almost disbelief. Like, you're yanking my chain. Like, no, come on. It has to be something else. And then once like I left the office, I was kind of like processing. I was like, this would happen. Of course it would. Like, okay, let's go. Come on, let's bring this on. So at this time, I'm just angry, I think, and frustrated. But the first thing that went through my head was, I've done this before. I kicked its ass. Let's go. What do we need to do? Full steam ahead. Let's get this done.
You're in fight mode.
Oh, so much fight mode. Like I'm so angry at this point. Like this is no, like I'm just about to start a new job. Like all the stuff's going on in my life. I'm like, no, this is not happening. And yeah, it was like it wasn't a scared response. It was a, I'm not dealing with this. Let's get this over with. And the fact that I had it once before, that knowledge was still there. That process, what we went through, was still there. And I'm like, let's go. Okay, so I saw the urologist. Let's do this. We're gonna get blood work. Then I'm probably gonna get referred to my oncologist again. All right, cool. Let's do this. Surgery, most likely. Chemo, not sure. Let's go. Let's go. Like it was just, I was determined to fight this off. And
So
yeah,
yeah, so I guess your mind can go one of two ways at that point, and perhaps even both things at the same time, and you're battling them. But you're in fight mode. I've been through this. I'm gonna, you know, just drive right through it because I know what to expect.
Mhm.
The other side of your brain might be saying, I know what to expect, and that's a scary thing.
Exactly.
Are you battling that at all?
Yep. It was bad. It was the, it's hard to describe the waves that it came in. It was, okay, I have to make this phone call today to get this appointment set up to do this. I never thought about what would happen once that's set up. Like once I got the appointment done, like what's going to happen the next day or two. And that's when that other side started creeping in. It was, what is going on? Like, this is not happening to me right now. Like, I can't put myself through chemo again. I just cannot do it. I will not do it. And it was so like it was determination fight mode at specific times. But when you're sitting there alone with your thoughts, that's when it gets bad. And it was like, I don't know if I'm going to survive this time. I'm 10 years older. Like, I just can't do this. Like, I'm starting a new job. Like, I can't take time off of this. Like, all of this was going through. And then panic was starting to set in a little bit because I'm like, this isn't real. This is not life right now. I'm just going to wake up tomorrow morning and everything's going to go back to normal. And when you say that to yourself before going to bed, and then you wake up and it's still there, that's pretty crushing. And yeah, at that time, like I did what I knew how to do, and that was try to bury things again.
Yeah, because I would imagine that it would be so difficult. I mean, it's difficult when you're diagnosed the first time. You don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
You could, yeah, talk to this person. They tell you chemo's like a flu or whatever, but you don't really know until you go through it. Once
Yeah.
you've been through it, I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
It's very real.
And I don't know which one's worse. I think I'm still in that headspace right now. Like, yeah, I knew what to expect, and that got me through, the summer. But was that the right thing to do? Or should I have been like a sponge and learned to absorb the information, the new information I was given? And like I'm still like working through that, I think, because I'm still not out of the woods yet. Like I'm under surveillance for the next 3 years, but we'll get to that. Um, but I knew that using my knowledge and what I knew was going to help me with this process getting started.
And that's a wonderful attitude to have, because you have to, again, I believe that a lot of the toughest things are the mental aspects of the process and the experience, and trying to regulate that, control that, finding ways to use that in your favor. Again, it's not something you can learn in a textbook. It's something that you're learning as you go. So I commend you greatly for
Thank you.
having that fortitude to draw from that first experience.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. That's, at this time, I just started going back to therapy again. So she was a huge help at the beginning a little bit, but she didn't know what I was going through. She just knew how to give me tools to help. Um, but yeah, it was that's the only way I knew forward. Was like, I'm not gonna do what I did 10 years ago and just feel sorry for myself, question thing, all of this. I'm like, it's here, it's real. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Let's go. Um,
So at what point so you're speaking to this is all brand new now, in terms of your diagnosis for the second time.
yeah.
Um, what are they telling you that you have to do? You have to do surgery again? Uh, do you have to do treatments again? What's going on at this point?
Yeah. So it was a little confusing. They were a little confused at the beginning. So when I saw my urologist, I had an exam and he was like, okay, so we need to rule some things out here. I'm like, I thought it was just testicular cancer. Like you can see this thing. Like, what else would it be? He thought it could have been lymphoma. Because lymphoma has been known to progress down to the testicle and grow the testicle. So we weren't 100% sure if it was testicular cancer or a lymphoma. So that was something he wanted to wait on before saying, oh, yeah, you're going to need another orchiectomy, or we may need to look into lymphoma treatment. And I'm like, lymphoma? What? What? Like, no, that's like pretty serious. And that's not no, it has to be testicular cancer. It can't be anything else. So we got some blood work done, and he said if any tumor markers come back high in this blood work, we'll know it's testicular cancer. But if none of the tumor markers are elevated in this blood work, we know it's lymphoma, because apparently lymphoma does not show up on certain blood tests. So got the blood work back. It was testicular cancer. So I was thankful for that. I'm like, okay, good. I know I have at least a 95, 98% chance of doing this again. Whereas like with lymphoma, it's like 60, 70% or something like that. And his first, he was going to refer me back to oncology, just because he wanted an oncologist's opinion. And he said that since the testicle was so large, we don't think that a surgery would be the right course right away. He first suggested that we may need to do chemotherapy to shrink it and then remove it, or radiation to shrink it and then remove it. because it was like 14 centimeters long. Like I said, it was the size of a goose egg. It was huge.
Wow.
And yeah, very uncomfortable. Um, and after talking, so I had an oncologist appointment like the next day. They got me in super quickly, and different oncologist than last time. My oncologist from 10 years ago moved on. But I got another one, very similar personality to the one 10 years ago, which was good. It's the I'm not going to beat around the bush kind of thing. It's I'm going to tell you how it is and what we're going to need to do, which I appreciate. I don't like that sugarcoating stuff. It just makes me more anxious.
Right.
And he was like, nope, we're going to do the orchiectomy. So within that appointment was only like 10 minutes. I was like, here are my numbers. I know what the options are. I want to get this over with as soon as possible. I don't need to hear about what treatments are available or this or that because I know it. Just give it to me straight, doc. And he's like, okay, orchiectomy. I'm like, cool. I'm going to go get that scheduled. See ya. I was like in and out of there in like 10, 15 minutes. Because that place still causes me a little anxiety overload still, just because I spent so much time there. Um, so I had my orchiectomy a month later, and they removed it without any issues. Um, I had more issues getting my testosterone approved by my insurance than getting that surgery scheduled. Um, which I'm on 100% TRT replacement therapy. Um, and y- yeah, we did my blood work after like 4 weeks. We went in a week later, and the number wasn't as low as he wanted it to be because it was my HCG, and that number needs to be below 2 to be considered normal. Um, when I first got my blood drawn before the surgery, it was over 5,000. Um, and then we did the blood work after the surgery. It came to a 4. Uh, the doctor didn't really know what to do. He was like, we could do 3 rounds of BEP again, or we can do surveillance, or we could, like, he just wasn't 100% sure. Um, so then I was doing some Googling the other night and came across something where if you have hypogonadism, which is no testosterone, um, it can have like a molecule in your body that needs testosterone, but if it doesn't have it, it converts it to HCG. So at this point, I was on testosterone for a week. So I got my blood drawn when I wasn't on any, and I wasn't on it for 4 weeks. Um, and then I was on it for a week. We got the blood drawn again, and it was lower than 2.
Well, it must have been a huge relief when you heard that news.
It was so incredible to hear that. Like, so he said surveillance for the next 3 years, um, blood work, CT scans, all of that, but no chemo.
Thank goodness. I was just going to ask you, and
Yeah.
that was obviously the toughest part of your first diagnosis. So to not have to do that again must have been a massive weight off of your shoulders.
I still can't describe it to people. Like when I tell the story, I can't. It just, yeah, I can't really describe what it felt like to hear that.
Yeah, going back to um, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but speaking to somebody who's been through it and has gone through a certain level of chemo, and you have a discussion with them, there's some comfort in that. But
Mhm.
when you're describing it to somebody that's never experienced that, there's really nothing you could say that could put them in that same space.
No, no. I mean, the closest thing I can come to is hearing that you don't have cancer. When you hear that when you thought you might have had it, and then you get the work done, you get biopsies, and the doctor says you don't have cancer. That's similar to what that feeling was, to not hearing that I have chemo.
So this was very recent for you.
Yep.
I
June
mean,
of this
you're
year.
you're just a few months removed from this second experience.
Yep.
Um, and although the experience for you may not have been as traumatizing physically because of the lack of chemo,
Mhm.
has the mental aspect of being diagnosed a second time and the whole ordeal, has it amplified any of your mental, let's say, awareness or challenges? How has it affected that? Where are you today versus 6 or 8 months ago?
Um, I think I'm in a much better place. Um, I didn't take the time in this summer to process what I was feeling. I spent too much time in like determination mode. Like, let's get this done. Let's get this done. We can figure it out later. Figure it out later. And there were times when it was really low, really low. I would say probably, well, right before my surgery, I was really struggling with just comprehending everything that was going on. Um, and then immediately after the surgery, when I was off of testosterone, everything was just amplified to like 100%, like just so intense. Like, yeah, all of my emotions were at a 15 out of 10. Like, my body hurt. Like, it felt like I was going almost through something new. Like, I can't describe what it was. I mean, it's just like when you don't have your hormones or anything like that, when you have something that regulates your body that you're supposed to need to have, and when those are taken from you, your body just goes into this weird sort of hot flashes, body aches, just incredibly emotional and powerful thoughts and feelings for something stupid. Like
Yeah,
it,
it's amazing how your mental well-being can contribute to your physical well-being.
yeah. Yeah. And I didn't realize that. Like, I'm kind of like frustrated. I never had my testosterone measured before my surgery. So I don't know what it was going in. But now that it was at zero now, like I'm not producing anything to help regulate my emotions. And I don't know how to regulate them myself because they're so sporadic. They're so just uncontrollable. I don't know when they're going to come. Like, I remember a time I was just driving home from somewhere and I just got furious at the stoplight for no reason. Like, I'm snapping at people that I don't do. Like, it felt like a flip was switched when I didn't have testosterone anymore. And then within 2 days of being on TRT, I felt better than ever. It was just incredible, like just how powerful that is. And that's something you can't really explain either. Like, unless you need testosterone to like survive, because you can't produce it, people understand. But like, if you never need it, you just don't know what you lost.
Yeah, Brian, you're on your social media. One of the things that you have on there, which is amazing, and I love it. It's uh, y- you have on there. It says Brian's back up.
Brian gets back up. Yep.
And I love that because it's just a constant reminder to yourself that every day, every single day, is a struggle and it's beautiful at the same time. And I think to me, when I see that Brian's back up, Brian gets back up, that's a constant reminder of positivity of listen, life is not easy and it's not different for you than the next person. Um, Now it might be different in the sense that not everybody's going to be diagnosed and went through with what you went
Mhm.
through, but everybody has challenges in some way, shape, or form throughout their life at some point, and for you to have that mindset of Brian gets back up, I just think it's amazing. So good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's you know, this really started after that oncology appointment when I said I didn't need chemo. Like that next morning, I woke up and I'm like, I have this new lease on life now. Like I literally, I wouldn't say I dodged a bullet, but like I still had the tumor. It was still removed. Like I'm still under surveillance. Like it's still a part of my life now having this a second time. But I feel like my life's not on pause anymore. It doesn't feel like it's on hold, because I couldn't make plans, because I knew in my mind I was preparing, okay, I'm going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks again for chemo. So I can't plan the next 6 to 8 weeks of my life and probably further, depending on how I'm feeling. And then just finding out that I just gained those months back is like, okay, let's let's see what I can do with this. And that's where the idea of the social media Instagram account came from. Um, where it does focus on bringing awareness to testicular cancer and men's mental health.
Yeah.
And
So that's another thing that you have on there is Brian gives back, right? And
Mhm.
what are you doing besides um, spilling your heart out to the world on platforms like this? What's going on in your life right now? What have you decided to do? What have you done to give back? Because I know it's really important to you to bring awareness to this
Mhm.
issue, and in particular, mental health. Because, like I said earlier, I just think it's one of those things when people talk about cancer and they talk about treatment, they tend to talk about the chemo, they tend to talk about therapy, and they tend to talk about the nausea, and not to undermine any of those things because they're huge and they're traumatic, and it's difficult to explain them.
Mhm.
But people rarely talk about the mental struggle, the PTSD, the challenges going back and forth in your head. And it's just something that tends to get overlooked. It's something you can't visually see that. And I think that's why it gets overlooked. It's not something that, listen, I'm sick, I lost some weight. I can see that. You got a lion in your chest. I can see that. You're nauseous. I can visually see that. I can't see what's going on in your head. And I think that's where the disconnect comes from.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Especially when I still think in our country it's a stigma to talk about mental health. I know it's gotten a little bit better.
Especially as a male.
Yeah, especially as a male. Showing that you're weak, that you're not you're not tip top prime kind of person. Like, you know, and that's something I want to break. I want to break that stigma. Um, because I truly believe that everyone needs therapy in some form or fashion. Nobody's perfect. Everyone is going through their own struggles in their life, whether it's relationship, health, career, whatever it is. Nothing is perfect. And just having someone to talk to can change your life. And that's what I'm doing on my side here. Again, I'm still trying to build that following, but I've had quite a few people reach out to me through DMs, um, asking how I approach scan anxiety. Um, how did I approach going to an oncology appointment? When they're feeling the anxiety through the roof, like what did I do? Of having a lot more intimate or personal conversations with other survivors and just letting them know, hey, it's these appointments are important. You do not want to miss any of your appointments, but the best way to like prepare for them is just know that what you are going into, you're going to be gaining knowledge from it, and knowledge is power. And the more power you have, the more control you have over your emotions and your treatment plans. And obviously, what the doctor says is you're going to listen to the doctor, but how you process that information depends on what you know about the treatment, what you know is going in your body, what you know what's going on in your body. Like I try to bring things from a matter of, I feel like the knowledge aspect is really good for the mental health, as well as taking time to not think about cancer, not think about treatment. Like cancer basically ran my life when I was going through chemo, and that was very challenging for me. If I had other outlets or other interests or things to take my mind off of it, it probably would have gone better. Don't know. I mean, hindsight's 2020. But I think that being able to say that you live with cancer, you're going through cancer treatments, however severe it is, or whatever cancer it is, as long as you have like a support group or someone who can take your mind off of things for a bit, or that sense of normalcy, I think is very important for the mental health journey to get through the treatments and not giving up, and knowing that it may not get better today, tomorrow, or the next day, but it will get better and you will come out stronger on the other side, even if you don't realize it. And I just now realized how strong I was from 10 years ago. And after having this a second time, I'm like, okay, maybe there's something going on upstairs that's keeping me going. Like still in therapy, like, I'm doing all of these things to make myself better, even though I'm still actively in surveillance. And that's
Yeah,
been
Brian,
huge.
I want to applaud you for everything that you're doing to try to give back and reaching out to people again, sharing your story, spilling your heart. Um, the one thing that I would say is that I don't care how big a guy is. I don't care how many tattoos you have. I don't care, if you're a jock or uh, whatever your personality is. When something like this happens, it's none of those things really matter. I mean,
No,
your mental, your mental struggle, it's real, and none of those other things, in your personality could prepare you for that. It's a real thing. It's a real challenge to
yeah,
absorb and deal with this, because this is not something that you can't study for this.
no, no. And you can only prepare so much. And if you've prepared a certain way and it doesn't go that way that you prepared for, how do you
Great point.
adjust?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, like, and that was something I tried to avoid the first time. It's like I don't want to like prepare or do all of this research or all of this stuff just to have it all washed away and replaced with something new that I need to process. So I went into that like a sponge the first time. The second time, I went into it with, I know I have a basic knowledge of this disease. I know what plan roughly is. Let's mentally prepare for whatever plan is going to come my way. And I mentally prepared for chemotherapy. Like, I was in the mindset that I will be getting chemo. I will be out of work for 6 to 8 weeks, roughly. I'm gonna feel like garbage. This is what I need to do to prepare for this. I need protein shakes. I need candies. I need like all of this stuff was going through my mind for weeks. And to get myself into a good mental state so that when I do get starting sick or I do lose my hair again, that I'm still at a good place because I am prepared. And then speaking of just getting it all washed away and finding out that I don't need it was again overwhelming at the time because that was not on my radar. Like I was hoping I wouldn't need chemo, like, but I was also hoping 10 years ago I wasn't going to need chemo. And spending all of that mental energy preparing for something that didn't happen and you get good news versus bad news, a change in plan is still a change in plans. And I think you have to forgive yourself at a point when something doesn't go the way you plan, and how you adjust is it's going to be okay no matter what. It's going to be okay, but I need to give myself some grace for not beating myself up for preparing for all of this and it not happening. I need to accept what is happening now and keep moving forward with my life because my life has not stopped. It has not ended. It's not on pause. It's still moving. I just got to get more blood and scans and all of that. And that's why I feel like I should be using this energy to have like a social media presence. Um,
I do want to ask you one more thing.
yeah.
You have, I mean, through your words today and your story, you're giving back. You're, I mean, you're giving back. Everyone has a different personality, and some people may not want to share their story because it's personal. You have found a way to say, "Hey, there's people out there who are struggling. They don't know what's coming. They don't know what to expect. They don't understand the mental challenges that they may or may not experience." And you're finding a way to share your story to comfort others, prepare them, etc. And that just it's incredible. It really warms my heart, believe me. And if you had one last thing to say to somebody who is at in this process, whether they're haven't been diagnosed yet and they're feeling something going on with them, whether they've been to the doctor and they've been diagnosed with whether it be testicular cancer or any other type of cancer, what do you want to say to these people?
I want to say that never give up, keep fighting. Um, you don't know what the plan is going to be. You don't know what it looks like. Just make yourself give yourself the most grace and comfort that you can, both mentally and physically, for whatever does come. Make sure you have a support system of any kind. Either if it's social media, family, friends, coworkers, whoever it is, because your support system will lift you up when you're feeling at your most low. And always make sure that you absorb the information and process the information before making a decision. Um, it really does help. No matter what it is, just make sure that you take the time and think of the pros and the cons and just know that it will get better.
Yeah, they say wisdom comes from experience, and I think those are really wise words because you've been there.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to tell my story. it's gotten easier to talk about the story, and when I find out, learning more and more information, it definitely helps me prepare better for the future.